Greetings, viewers, and thank you once again for joining me on the Healing Families with Pastor Zandi show. I'm excited for us to continue on the subject that we were dealing with the last time that we spoke, and that is the subject of communication. Just to recap, we spoke about the fact that it's important for us to observe certain rules when communicating with our spouses, because those rules serve as a guide so that you are not doing things that are counterproductive, though you are actually intending to have effective communication with your spouse. So we managed last week to speak about choosing the right time and place, using the right tone of voice, using endearments, being clear and specific, and also remaining respectful throughout conversation. I'm going to add to those rules and hopefully also share on some levels of communication. The next rule is the rule of not interrupting. I know that once again, this sounds so basic, but it's amazing how we are not mindful of these little things that actually result in conversations becoming extremely emotional. When you speak or when you are being spoken to, it's important not to interrupt the person who is speaking, because usually the only reason that a fight can escalate and become really heightened and nasty is if when one person is speaking, while they are speaking, you don't wait respectfully as an adult to be given an opportunity to speak, but you rather choose to interrupt. I noticed this early in my relationship. My husband would be saying something, and maybe if I felt like it wasn't true, just as he was trying to explain himself, I'd be like, that's the problem. You see now, you lying. This is actually a lie. I mean, he's trying to talk. He hasn't even gotten to the bottom of his point. He hasn't even gotten to where I understand, but I'm there interrupting. I'm fortunate in that my husband is not, he's not going to then have a huge fight with you because you're raising your voice and you're interrupting. So what he would do is he would shut down and he would refuse to talk to me because I was behaving childish. And it took very long for me to master this. But I found that when I finally realized how important it is for me not to interrupt, to allow him to say everything he wants to say for as long as he needs to say it. And, while he's speaking, I can't act bored. I can't just be on my phone. This is another rule. You have to listen attentively. So I'm giving you two rules: listening attentively and also not interrupting. Listening attentively means you're nodding in agreement. You are making sounds of maybe approval. Yeah, I hear you. Just indicating that you're actually engaged in the conversation, you're interested. Gives the person a sense that you feel that what they are saying is important, and they feel valued, and therefore they feel comfortable continuing to talk to you. But a lot of times we're very irresponsible. A spouse will be watching TV, and when you ask them to give you their attention, they'll tell you that they listen with their ears, not their eyes. That's very rude and disrespectful, and it devalues the person who is trying to communicate with you. Listen attentively and don't interrupt. Wait for them to speak. We abused this rule when we discovered it. My husband and I have to admit, abused it. I want to say he did. I think he'd beg to differ, but I think he did more. Because what do I mean by abuse? I mean, he would then speak for extended periods so that he's confusing me and I don't know, I forget, I lose my trail of thought. I don't know what he was saying. And I discovered that it's important for me to actually just have a little pen and paper so that while he speaks, if there's something he's saying that I think is not accurate, I make a note, policy, and I write, next to that, this is what I think you are mistaken about. And then I would be noting all the comments that I'd want to make afterwards. But my point is I wasn't interrupting him. I was waiting for my turn in order to speak. It changed our relationship completely. Changed our relationship. That sense of respect, and also just knowing that you are going to be heard, because you won't then be arguing back and forth. The reason we argue is because you didn't even wait, and we'll make comments like, and that's exactly what then upsets and offends someone, and then you're not going to have the communication you desire to have. Do not interrupt, and when you listen, make sure you are very attentive and active in how you are doing it. The next one is do not use absolutes when communicating. There's something that we do where I think we grow up speaking like this, exaggerating, where you just will want to say to someone, you never ever give me anything. You never tell me that you love me. And that's actually a very irresponsible thing to do, because a lot of times, even if your spouse is not telling you right now how much they love you and they haven't done it in a while, they have made the effort to tell you that you're beautiful, that they love you at some point. And when you lash out and say, you never ever do this, what you're communicating is that you don't acknowledge the times when they make an effort. And because of that, they're discouraged, they're paralyzed, and they won't show up ever again in that area. And then you become really frustrated. But what you prophesied or what you declared is actually becoming a reality, because our words are that powerful. If you keep saying, you never tell me you love me, of course he won't tell you, because that's what you've been saying. That's what he's hearing all the time. And eventually he aligns his behavior with what you're saying. I know I speak a lot, like I'm speaking to the women on how they should relate with their husbands, but that's only because I'm a woman. Otherwise, the rules always apply both ways. So make sure you don't use absolutes. We say, you always come late. It's not possible for someone to always be late. It isn't. So the other problem with using absolutes is that more often than not, you are lying. You are the one who is now lying. If you say, you always do this, chances are you are mistaken. I do it most of the time, but not all of the time. And people want that accuracy in order for them to feel comfortable speaking with you. Let's not use absolutes let's not cage and trap each other in things that we're not even happy with. Let's make sure that we acknowledge, even if it's, few times that this person has done, you never buy me anything. You never ever, no, they bought something. And when you say you never buy me anything, they feel like, oh my goodness, so that was too small. It was so trivial that she even forgot that just the other day I brought her a chocolate. So just don't use absolutes. It's safer, it's better for everyone not to use absolutes. And then lastly, no silent treatment. This is a big one. A lot of times couples feel, maybe it won't be the last one, I want to mention one other one before I move on to levels of communication. But don't use silent treatment to manipulate your spouse. What couples will do is they'll get to a point where they feel like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. There's actually a joke that I just remembered of a couple that was not speaking to each other. And so because the wife was determined not to speak to the husband, she left him a note and said, please wake me up at 5 a.m. She needed to be up early for one reason or another. And at 5 a.m., the husband wrote a note and said, wake up. And of course, she woke up late, but she discovered that the husband had written a note and put it there and said, it's 5 a.m., you need to wake up. I don't know why I remember that, but I just did. Anyway, my point to us is silent treatment is very destructive. It destroys both of you. A lot of times when you're not talking to each other, the assumption is that communication is not taking place. But communication is taking place when you're not talking to each other. Because by not talking to me, you are communicating something. Sometimes when your spouse stops talking to you, and maybe there's a rumor that they're having an affair or whatever, because they are not talking to you, everything that you see, you interpret in that light or according to the filter of the rumor that you have heard. So then the devil is whispering in my ear that, you see, of course he's having an affair. That's why he's not even talking to you. He has his fill of conversation during the day, busy talking to people he's not even married to. And then you are also not talking to your spouse. So your husband is also listening to the devil communicating to him, busy telling him that they told you that as soon as you marry her, Thwala, she'll become impossible and difficult. Look at her. She's all, obstinate and proud because she thinks now she's married and she's now the boss of you and whatever. All sorts of nonsense, all sorts of lies. if you have a fear of divorce, a lot of times the devil will use that. You see, you're not talking to each other. It has started. You're already on your way to divorce. He uses the silence between the two of you to amplify his voice, So when you have a problem with each other, you can't then say, I'm sorry, I'm just not talking. So you go day 1, day 2, day 3, sometimes up to 2 weeks. And I've heard of couples that have gone for like a month without talking to each other. I've been married to my husband for 27 years, and I'm very proud and happy to say in the 27 years that you have married, and we've had numerous fights, not pleasant ones, horrid fights, but we've always spoken. It's one of the cardinal rules of our relationship that we will speak no matter how upset we are. We lost our right to not talk to each other the day we said, I do. So we speak no matter the mood, no matter how you feel. That is something that you need to understand. Once you're married, you talk, and you talk all the time, so that you're bringing correction to the lies that are flowing through the person's mind. So if they were thinking divorce, because you are in communication, you'll find that your spouse is able to say, and don't think that this means divorce. This is just us having a fight about this particular issue, but I'm never, ever getting a divorce. I don't want someone else. You are the one that I want. And those words can settle you and actually disseminate the feud that was starting between the two of you. The devil is able to take root in your marriage and in your relationship once you stop talking to each other. You always have to be talking to each other. And the last one is don't speak in your anger. So I wanted to bring that up because I know that then it sounds like a conflict of points, because then you said I shouldn't be silent, but now you're saying I shouldn't speak in my anger. No. When I say don't speak in your anger, I mean give yourself a chance to calm down and process your emotions and your thoughts before you just lash out and vent, It's irresponsible to speak in anger. You will not say anything constructive. The Bible actually says that the anger of man does not manifest the righteousness of God. And what that really means is that you are not prone to doing right when you are angry. Every time you're angry, don't do. That's a rule for everywhere in life. You get angry at work, don't write that resignation letter. Never do when you are angry. Don't act out of emotion. When you're angry, give yourself a chance to calm down. And when you know that I'm really okay, I'm not being driven by my emotions, I'm at peace, that's when it's time for you to communicate. So what do you do instead? Because I said silent treatment is not acceptable. You explain to your spouse that, love, if I speak to you right now, I might say something I'll regret. Can we talk about this later on, or latest the following day? Don't wallow in anger and self-pity. The Bible says don't even let the sun go down in your anger. So if you're angry at night, obviously the sun has already gone down, but don't allow it to be like 24 hours. Just give yourself a couple of hours. My husband likes to drive. When he's upset with me, he'll just be like, I just need some air, and he'll drive. And I remember that used to really upset me. So one day I was mad and I was like, I need to drive, at night, I need to drive. And my husband was like, you're not going anywhere. And I was very mad because I felt like, but that's what you do. Every time you're angry, your driver is like, yeah, because I won't call you if I get a tire burst, or I know how to handle myself out there. And, this is, by the way, the fact that when we are behaving in anger, we become irrational. I wanted to go out, but the reality and the truth is that I don't have capacity for facing all the things that you might face if you drive away. He uses that to cool off. I can't afford to use that to cool myself off. So it's not even a competition. You're not there trying to prove that I can do everything you can do. You're not the same. You don't have the same capacity. So it's irresponsible to allow the anger to determine and dictate how you will behave. Very important, do not speak in your anger. There's a scripture in Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1 that says, a harsh answer will stir up many waters, just like a calm one will quench a raging sea. So once you are calm, you'll find that you're more responsible with how you speak. Something that I like to do, I like to write to my husband, like a text message. If I think it's really intense, I'll text. And the reason that I text is because with texting, when you read back, you're able to edit your words. Words are powerful. Sometimes, as soon as they're out, you can't actually get them back. So it's better not to say something that you'll regret at all. When you write, read and ask yourself, do I really want to say this? And if you feel like this I was saying because I was so upset, then delete that, you know. Sometimes, for some people, it works writing instead of actually talking to a person. But the main thing is, don't speak from a place of anger. You will not speak correctly if you do that. And then lastly, I want to talk about levels of communication. For the longest time, I thought that the definition of communication is just articulating or verbalizing your feelings and your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas. But actually, there are 3 components to communication. The first one is speaking and saying what you think and feel. But the second one is listening. Because if you are able to speak very well, but you suck at listening, then you are bad at communication. It matters what the other person is able to say. It matters that you are able to listen. The third component is that of understanding. What did you understand? Are you actually hearing what the person is saying? Or you're using the filters of past experiences to literally just hear something that the person is not even saying. A lot of times when couples have been married for an extended period, this becomes a very big problem. Why? Because they have certain experiences with their spouse that they keep referring back to that interferes with what they are hearing their spouse say. For example, a spouse can be in a house, can come into a house and say, we can't be late for this appointment. And the other partner can quickly feel like they're being accused of being a latecomer or using too much time to prepare for an event. But anyone else who was there didn't even hear the person say that. I find a lot of times when I talk to couples that the filters of past experience become a bit destructive because they contaminate the understanding bit of it. So it's important to even go back and say, after your spouse has communicated, for you to say, what I'm understanding is this. Is this what you meant? Very, very important. Lastly, as we close, I want to just say that there are different levels of communication, 5 specifically that I want to talk about. The first one is small talk. The second one is factual talk. The third one is ideas and opinions. The fourth one is feelings. And the last one is intimate talk. Those are all levels of communication. When we talk about small talk, it's just, exchanges about the weather. It's really cold today. Yeah. Factual talk, we start to say, this COVID-19 is messing up, the economy. When we now go to the third level of ideas and opinions, we might offer even a solution. I think if they would change this and that, it would help to curb the situation. Feelings, that's when you are actually expressing now, this is how I feel about this. I felt like this when you did this. The last one, intimate talk, I'm going to give an extreme example. Intimate talk is the type of talk that you have with your spouse that you can't share with someone else. For example, if your boss dies in a car accident, and while you are very shocked and saddened by their passing, you are excited at the notion that you are next in line for their position. You can't share that with someone that you don't trust with your entire being, because then it might be misconstrued as, it's something that a person can then use against you. Even spouses can turn around and say, yeah, you are evil, You were even happy when your boss died because you wanted the position. That's an indication that the relationship sucks, Basically, I'm giving you the levels of communication so that you can rate the level of intimacy. If your spouse is not able to trust you with things they can't say to someone else, then the relationship is unhealthy. If your spouse doesn't use the word feel when they talk to you, it's possible the relationship has become a bit mechanical. Also, if your spouse is uncomfortable sharing their ideas and opinions with you, maybe you were disrespectful and irresponsible with their feelings in the past. So I encourage you to make sure that you look at the levels of communication, even as you adhere to the effective rules for communication. Until next time, I hope you have been blessed and I hope you have been empowered. And I trust that your relationship is going to move to a better and healthier place. God bless you.